On this episode of the podcast, I have with me Bob Stefanski. He is co-founder and managing director of eLab Ventures. We're going to be talking about AI startups, and we're going to be talking about how much road's ahead in that lane, valuations. We're going to be talking about giving founders time to execute, pivoting. We're going to try to get a couple other things in there. I just don't know if we have enough time because Bob has a fantastic background in this subject, and hopefully we'll cover as much as we can. Bob, thanks for being on the show.
It's good to be here, Amir. Thanks for having me on.
Before we start, eLab Ventures, can you tell everyone what kind of companies do you guys invest in typically?
Yeah, we are in early stage, so seed to even pre-seed fund that invests with a pretty major focus on artificial intelligence. And we can break that down as far as you want, but that's sort of the broad umbrella. And we've been doing that for about a decade now. Our first sort of pure play AI platform investment was sometime around 2015, I think, and we've been, pretty steady on that ever since.
We had been talking off air about how much room there is in the AI space, and obviously you guys have been investing since 2015. You mentioned that there's still a lot of road ahead. People still might be underestimating how much room there is in the AI space. Can you maybe just tell us what you think about that, what that really means to us?
Yeah, I think we're in a period right now in June 2024 where there's a lot of press, a lot of sort of buzz around. Maybe AI is overhyped, maybe AI is overvalued. We've seen the public stocks that are AI heavy, most, notably and maybe obviously NVIDIA, but also at the other big techs, Google, Meta, so forth. We've seen, their share prices go through the moon. I think NVIDIA just hit $3 trillion within the last couple of days. And so there's a lot of sort of talk about, this is yet another tech bubble that's getting overinflated. A lot of we've heard probably many times people talk about, these new major waves in tech where you sort of underestimate or you overestimate in the short term the impact, but you underestimate in the long term. And I think with AI, we've been through a few of these waves, and AI is for real. It's the impact will be for real. I think we're just at the very tip of the iceberg on the impact that it's going to have. And it's a very broad impact. It's going to hit literally every industry. There's like no one who won't feel the impact of AI. And so, I think the timing is difficult to predict. The technology is moving at a absolute lightning pace. It's literally days and weeks what used to be months and years. And so, I've never seen a sort of a technology move this fast. And so it's very difficult to predict exactly where it's going to go and when it's going to get there. Human adoption is always the gating item, the thing that slows it most. But I think, we're seeing certainly in our business, with our AI focus, we're seeing an impact right now, and you can see a much bigger one coming down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess maybe a follow-up question to that is, you guys are investing a lot of AI startups. You have been for a long time. It's early still, and we're still figuring out adoption, how it's going to be impacting. I think I agree with you. I think we're going to see an impact. I think, where and how is still, yet to be played out. When you guys are investing in startups within AI, do you have a different mindset knowing that, not that we're looking for product fit, obviously the product's there, but in terms of adoption, in terms of scale to growth, are you looking at founders differently, knowing that we're still figuring this stuff out when it comes to particular AI investments?
Yeah, that's a great question, Amir. At our stage, at the early stage, it's different no matter what you're investing in. It's different than if you're a growth or a later stage or certainly private equity stage investor. We are looking at probably more intensely the entrepreneurs themselves, no matter what, right? But for AI in particular, you bet, because it is so specialized. And when you really look around at sort of where the the source of the greatest AI talent in the world is. It's really comes down to a small number of schools, and we know where they are, where the research centers are here on the West Coast. Stanford and Berkeley. Then you have MIT on the East Coast. You have Michigan, Carnegie Mellon. You have University of Toronto. And there are others that are strong as well, but those are sort of primary ones, and so much of it comes out of those places, and the talent that comes out of those places. And so, we look for, and obviously there are strong AI entrepreneurs and scientists around the world, but we really look for folks that have a pedigree, have the experience, that understand the technology, and understand also that we're more deep tech investors in the sense that we care about the technology. We don't care just about the technology, but we really care about the technology because we invest in things where we think it can be the disruptor. It can be the thing that causes, that gives an unfair advantage to the company. And so, therefore, the entrepreneurs that have that sort of deep tech pedigree really do matter to us. And I'm happy here to give you lots of examples if you want to drill in. We're taking high level to start here.
Yeah, it's an interesting thread to maybe pull at, and maybe there's two follow-up questions, and the first would be, you mentioned some top schools, the best that are producing people within this field. Is the characteristic of a founder within AI changing? And by that I mean, 10 years ago, if you wanted to start a SaaS company, you could be a lot of different backgrounds. Is AI changing the potential type of people that are going to be able to take advantage of some of those opportunities? Or is it just, that doesn't matter. It's still the founder and the idea and then finding people to execute?
Yeah, that's another good question. It's not something, honestly, I've spent a ton of time thinking about, other than we're always looking for, the smartest people we can find. And we're also looking for, we invest on the enterprise side. We're not a consumer investor. So we're looking for, companies that are working with B2B and big organizations and so forth. And so we look for entrepreneurs that have enterprise expertise, have vertical market expertise, because it's not just understanding the technology for sure. It is, or understanding the AI in this case. It's really understanding the problem you're solving. And if you are in the utilities space, you better understand utilities really well. If you're in the retail sector, you better understand retail really well. So that's another slice, certainly, of the entrepreneur that we're looking at. But you're also looking, you're looking for the intangibles. You're looking for people that are going to be good leaders. You're looking for people that can work with other people. You're working with people that are really creative, that don't get down when they get, punched in the face or when something tough happens, right? They pick it up and come back. Those intangibles are super important as well.
When you're looking at, and I guess the enterprise space, is there a potential shift, or is there growth in functional narrow AI?
Okay, let's peel that back a little bit. There is absolutely growth. If you're comparing sort of traditional functional AI, if that by that you mean deep learning, as opposed to the generative AI, which is really in foundation models, which have really sort of grabbed the headlines for the last year and a half or so. I would say without any doubt whatsoever. In fact, the majority of what we see today in terms of what we're interested in companies that have, real competitive advantage in AI are actually doing more traditional deep learning and using deep learning AI as opposed to just the foundation models for their products. They have advantages in understanding vertical problems that they're trying to solve. They also usually have data advantages where they have access to unique data sets, a ability to curate unique data sets and sort of apply them to those problems. So, if that's your question, I'd say between 60 and 70% of what we see is still, narrow or deep learning AI. If you look at the sorts of problems that it can solve in the healthcare space and the financial space, and just about any vertical you want to talk about, it's still really important and really applicable, and it will continue to be. The generative AI stuff is super cool. We can talk about that separately, and for obvious reasons, it's with with ChatGPT and all the LLMs that are out there, and getting everyone's attention. They're fun, they're cool. There's a lot of they capture people's imagination, and it's the first time that sort of broadly, people now kind of have access to AI directly, and they can kind of see the power of it. But the traditional AI, I think, is going to be there for a long time.
Yeah, I guess no, that's great. And the reason I was asking is, when you talk about, you guys invest in a lot of enterprise AI. We work with a lot of founders who are building out AI solutions for very particular use cases within insurance, within healthcare, and I am seeing a lot of PhDs with industry backgrounds launching companies, and you're starting to see the dotted line of this functional background of a PhD MD who's solving a healthcare delivery problem, has a very unique view of where his or her AI will fit in. And I think that's, I guess that goes back to the question of, are we seeing an evolution in the type of founders? And that, obviously, maybe these are non-traditional founders coming from non-traditional CS degrees, but they are, putting in solutions. Kind of, what you've been alluding to and mentioning is very impactful for those enterprise type companies.
Yeah, it is indeed. But I think maybe the more important thing to us and to me is I see a pretty significant shift coming in terms of how these applications are created. We're in this stage right now with AI where the infrastructure is really being built out, right? So from the chip level with NVIDIA and the other AI chips, and big tech, they're all making their own chips now, to the sort of the foundation model level or layer, where you have the LLMs and large image models and multimodal models and so forth, and those are proliferating. There are many right now. At some point, those will narrow down, although I doubt they'll narrow down like search did, for example. I think there's going to be a number of winners in that space. But we're seeing this sort of infrastructure being built. And the really interesting thing that's been happening the last couple of years, and what I've been seeing, up to right now, and I think is going to continue for the next several years, is that next layer of infrastructure where you have the ability to create very unique, very customized, very powerful applications without going to the big packaged software providers like the SAPs and the Oracles and and even the Salesforces that are doing SaaS. I see that application space is shifting, because the development tools, the application development tools, AI application development, the data management tools, all that layer is getting so powerful and getting much more accessible to non-coders, business analyst types and so forth. That is where I see, a real major shift coming. I'm not hearing a ton of people talking about it yet, but I think it's going to happen. You'll be able to spin up a powerful AI application yourself as a business that gives you unique competitive advantage. You don't need to sort of go buy the big powerful packaged application anymore. Maybe you'll still do that for some things, but you'll spin up the things that really give you competitive advantage. Those are going to be accessible to a lot of people.
And that's actually a super interesting future, because I think you're going to find a lot of people in positions to take advantage of IP that they probably never thought they could. So I think it's going to be really some wild times.
Absolutely. Well, and as you know, it largely at this point comes down to data, right? And having unique data, and so that you can train and you can fine tune and you can textualize and so forth with unique data, whether it's on top of big foundation models or whether it's just straight up traditional deep learning. That is still maybe one of the biggest differentiators, is just what data you got.
So I guess we talked about valuations of companies within the AI space, lots of attention, lots of VC funds flowing to these AI startups. I guess as a company that invests in early stage AI, I mean, what has changed for you guys? Because obviously, maybe valuations are being pushed. Maybe you have to look slightly differently. But I guess I'll let you answer the question. But what has changed? Because obviously, you guys have done it early, so you guys have a obviously track record in seeing these opportunities. But yeah, what's been the impact?
Well, you mean evaluation, sort of?
Yeah. From you looking at opportunities, valuations in general, investable opportunities that make sense for eLab.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've absolutely seen inflation happen in venture capital for sure in the last 10 years, in the last few years. It really sort of hit its peak in 2021 when when everyone thought they could start at about a $25 million valuation no matter what they had or did, and some people were willing to pay that. We actually slowed down investing during that time because it was just evaluations just got really challenging, and there was a flood of money in venture capital. Then we were at the very end of sort of extremely low interest rates and low cost money and so forth. So that was sort of the peak of it. We've seen actually, valuations get a little more reasonable. Obviously, for a couple of years, from 2022, 2023, venture capitalists really tightened down belts, weren't making many new company investments. A lot of them were shoring up existing portfolios, putting their money there and so forth. But, as you've, I'm sure, seen the data, the numbers are just way, way down. In 2024, we've seen it pick back up a little bit. We've certainly seen it in our companies pick back up. But one thing that is really obvious and really different from anything that's happened that we've experienced before is the AI companies are obviously the ones that just sort of are different from everyone else, right? If you're a true AI company where that is your differentiation, you can still get really strong valuations, and that's at every stage, as we've seen. And it's a lot tougher. Prices of valuations have really settled back in just about every other space in AI, and that's the big obvious thing. I mean, for us, we adjust the pricing. At the end of the day, you tried as a venture capitalist, as an investor, you try to get the ownership that fits your model, and you invest sort of what it takes to get that. And if you're investing in the right companies and they really are $1 billion opportunities plus that we're going for, the number that you come in at, yeah, sure, it makes a difference. But at the end of the day, it's whether you're a 50x or a 100x or a 200x or whatever, right? You're looking at fairly significant returns if you are picking the right companies.
Maybe last question, because you mentioned being more of a true AI company, and I think there are lots of startups that I see that look like they're AI, but then maybe they're not. And then you see others that are really, really deep on the fundamentals. Just curious your definition of what you kind of are seeing as more of that true core AI type company.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question too, because everyone is an AI company now.
Yes, pretty much at this point.
Literally everyone is like, we're AI too, and you put AI in the name, and the truth is, it's become it's a pretty fundamental layer in the technology stack now, where if you're dealing with data in your product, you're probably going to use AI. You're going to use machine learning in there. So yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and I would just sort of go back to something I said earlier, where we sort of look at AI very broadly in two big buckets. One is the AI enabled applications, which we've talked a bit about. Pick your vertical, pick your market. AI enabled applications. The other is the infrastructure, the tools, the things you use to build AI. And in the tool space or the infrastructure space, the development platforms, the data platforms, that is pretty obviously AI and pretty obviously differentiated, because that is the product. That's what you're doing. That's pretty easy to say, okay, that's an AI company. And as I said earlier, I think that is a space where that's a layer at which a lot of value is being created right now as we speak. In the next many years, it's going to be a great space to be in, because as this gets built out, because it's going to be here, it's going to be here forever. As long as we're around, I think it'll be around. The AI-enabled application space is a little trickier in the sense that, it's everyone's doing it a little bit. So we really look for, as I think I said earlier, entrepreneurs that are really differentiated. They understand the space better, they understand the problem better, and they have they are applying it in a way that maybe others haven't applied it. And usually, as I said earlier, it comes down to their data differentiation. And they're able to train models differently, right? And they're able to offer something that no one else can offer. But that's sort of broadly how we look at it.
Fantastic. Bob, I want to thank you for being on. If somebody does have a question, they want to follow up with you, what is a good way of touching base with you?
Probably the best is just shoot me an email at bob@elabvc.com. You can find me on LinkedIn if you want to as well. I check that, but just email is always good.
Okay. We'll make sure to include some of those in the show notes. Again, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Good to see you, Amir.
Absolutely. That's it for the episode. Be back again. Different guest, different topic. Two things until then. One, Bob covered a lot of great points on the AI startup space, deep background. Please share with somebody else who finds interest within the space. I mean, at this point, who doesn't? So hopefully you guys will find value in the episode. Also, please like, subscribe. Let me know how the podcast is going. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.